What was the thing you thought was a lie until you realized it was true? My older uncle told me when I turn 30 buy a suit because you will have a lot of funerals to attend. I'm now late 30s and been to 5 in the past few years. For me it was when I hit 20. It was like welcome to adulthood. Everybody you love is dying now. After a pretty sheltered childhood it left me scared to answer phone calls from family members. First thought is always who died this time. Last fall I was invited to 4 funerals in the same weekend. I'd really like it if that never happened again. I thought one of my good friends killed 2 people in a hit and run. We knew he was a crazy aggressive driver. He lived a block from where the accident occurred. We knew he would have been coming home on that street at around that time. The witness description matched his vehicle. And he suddenly disappeared to Mexico 2 days after it happened. When he came back, he didn't have his vehicle. We knew somebody in our group must have tipped off the police, because when he came back a couple weeks later, he told us all about how he was questioned upon his return from Mexico. He said he went to go see his ailing grandpa, and they decided to stay a couple extra weeks so his mom could make plans for a lengthy visitation over the summer. He left his vehicle there so his mom could drive around in a safer, less Lexus-shaped car. They didn't have enough evidence to arrest him, his story checked out, and they let him go without incident. For years we thought he had gotten away with vehicular manslaughter. It was kind of the dark secret between us that we didn't bring up openly. We were all pretty certain he was guilty, and the police completely failed in thoroughly investigating him, probably because he came from an affluent family of lawyers. Turns out we were wrong. About 10 years after the fatal hit and run, some random old guy who lived 20 miles away was arrested for DUI hit and run. His vehicle matched the description of another recent hit and run. They did some digging to see just how many hit and runs this guy had, and they found evidence that would have put him at the one we thought our friend did. He pleaded guilty, and last I checked, faced 20 plus years. So I'm conflicted. Do I owe my friend an apology for simply thinking he was guilty, and expressing that thought to other people who already felt the same way? Or do I just forgo the apology, recognize I never brought it up to his face, and leave behind a chapter I'm sure he'd like to leave behind as well? Forget it and move on. Whoa, this is a hugely complicated can of worms. Maybe make sure the other people who think that know the truth, but other than that I'd say leave it alone. My mom told me that after high school, I'd lose some of my closest friends. They're going to move on and start turning into other people over time. I laughed that off because I thought we weren't going to be like that. We were just 7 unpopular kids with a hilarious group chat. We did so much together. Now, there's 2 of us left. I miss them. This here. One of my close college friends, during our final days hanging out, once asked me, do you think none of us will ever meet after we pass? And I honestly thought that's ridiculous. There is no way that I will never bump into those people someday again. It has been more than 10 years and I haven't met a single person from my college since the day we collected our degrees. We have a group chat that was last updated 3 years ago. This pattern continues throughout life. People come, people go. All is impermanent. Including relationships. I feel like after school the little annoying things you accepted about your friends become their whole personality. Lol, does that make sense? Like my very BF in school used to do things like take unflattering photos of me and show boys cause she was jealous I got attention, and then as adults she became just a jealous bitch all the time, not just part time. Another was always trying to steal boyfriends but never was big deal cause it's high school and who gives an F, but is now a home wrecking cheater. Me and the boys missing each other. This guy acting like he was crazy when I got to college. He was so over the top, and since I was at an artsy school, I thought it was an act. Later in the year he launched himself from a 3rd-story balcony into the dining hall. Yeah, it wasn't an act. Did he survive? It's always sad to hear about people who needed some help with their heads not getting it till it's too late. You see a lot of crazy things and people in Nick. But every now and again I'll see something on TV or read something on Reddit and think that's just absurd news like that in real life, only to be disproved when I walk through Brooklyn to see someone shitting on an unfired truck, or meet a cheery 76 years old who overdosed on Xanax. Or see a man in a fancy suit throwing a temper tantrum because his private helicopter was delayed, or an artist selling pieces made using their own body excretions such as earwax. Then I remember, oh no, people are like that. That most actors for teenagers and children in movies and shows are much older than the people they portray. I didn't fully believe it for years after I was told. Which for me, gave me the impression that teenagers were much taller and bigger than they really were. While changing countries, I was told that I would feel a sense of homelessness, and I didn't really believe it. I've been away for college and back to my home country during summer for almost 3 years now, and I have acquired a constant feeling of being misplaced both at the country I've moved to and at my home country. It's terrible. Wherever you go, there you are. When I was 10, my mom was giving me the puberty talk. I thought she was lying and trying to scare me when she said that I'd wake up one day with blood in my underwear. Yay, my little sister is afraid of blood. She has panic attacks from needles. And can't watch an PG or 12 movie with blood in it. I'm her brother and think it's gonna be awful for her. Liggers are real. Sources are too. That adults put their tongues in each other's mouths on purpose and that they like it. Legit thought the other girls in kindergarten were lying and it made me nauseous. Later, I realized the appeal. Much later. When I was 6, I asked my mom how babies were made. She told me very matter-of-factly that a man puts his penis inside a woman's vagina. I thought she was making up a weird, gross lie to avoid telling me the real truth. Lol. I promised my current girlfriend while we were in 9th standard that kissing in the mouth was gross and we should never do it. Then we tried just the lips and kinda liked it a year later. Then we said what the hell and did it all the way. How ignorant we were. I remember watching Star Wars as a kid and saying it was so ridiculous how long Anakin and Padme kiss for. Nobody would kiss for that long in real life. Sometimes I still think kissing is weird when you think too much about it. I can't figure out why I like it so much. I thought reindeer were fictional like Santa Claus until I was about 18. Wait. That shit's real. So now are you gonna tell me that birds are real as well? I was in my mid-20s when I discovered that narwhals were actual animals and not made up like unicorns. Narwhals swimming in the ocean. Bye buddy. Hope you find your dad. Thanks Mr. Narwhal. Peppa Pig is banned in China for gangster attitudes and an episode that when Peppa overcomes the fear of spiders. Christopher Robin was banned in China because a Winnie the Pooh meme comparing him to their president became popular. Isn't the spider episode banned in Australia? Since the spiders there are super venomous. Driving on an interstate is easier than regular city streets. Edit. To verify, I'm not saying that it's easy to drive on an interstate. But relative to downtown cities like Dallas and Houston, that has a lot more confusing merges and lane positioning and turns with more congested traffic at the same time rather than just switching lanes and driving straight with traffic on an interstate. Also thanks for the upvotes, holy cow. 3. That depends on the interstate and the city streets. Houston interstates will test your multitasking, multiple object tracking and alertness while also testing your physical and mental dexterity and stress tolerances. The birthday paradox. In a random group of 23 people, the chance that 2 people share the same birthday is 50%. At 70, it is 99.9%. Still sounds like complete bullshit every time. It's easier to think like this. Between 23 people there are 253 unique pairs. You only need 1 pair to have the same birthday. Everyone kept telling me I'd skip class in college at least every now and then. A few weeks into my first semester I wake up for a 7:30 AM class, realize the truth, and go right back to sleep. The key is to not take a 7:30 AM class if you know you can't get your ass out of bed. But you better get used to it for when you actually have to get out of bed and go to a job. Enjoy your childhood. Time will go really fast when you grow up. Enjoy every stage. There's something about nearly every time in your life that can bring you pleasure. People eat cactus. I hear cactus juice is very thirst quenching. Drink cactus juice, it'll quench ya. Nothing's quenchier. It's the quenchiest. Unicorn is the national animal of Scotland. The Mandalay Bay shooting. My father was driving home from Los Angeles to Utah from a business trip, and I fell asleep in the vehicle. This required driving through Vegas and right past the Mandalay Bay. We were at the site of the bay as it was happening and all of the paramedics and officers were trying to get to the scene. When I woke up, my father told me I slept through a shooting at a country concert and I was there more or less. I thought it was a poor dad joke, and sleepily replied something not so pleasant about people who enjoy country music. It was fairly awkward later on in the evening when I slowly realized that it wasn't a poor dad joke. Well, that's what they get for liking country. Oh god, my son is a psychopath. The Game of Thrones season 8 leaks. Reading the leaks. Lol, what is this fanfic garbage? Seeing episode 3 and realizing it's all real. Oh. Life doesn't care how hard you tried. Saying I don't know makes people think you're smarter. After 20 plus years of formal higher education, where that was simply an unacceptable answer, it's a huge adjustment to make. That's really strange. I don't know, but I'll find out is a perfectly acceptable answer in the engineering field. Amen to that, motherfucker. It takes some balls to admit you don't know something for the first time. What are your degrees? My science education drilled into me that I don't know is the most important phrase you can learn. Coyotes can run faster than roadrunners in real life. I was told about Honda Odysseys having weird wheels with the inner rim is a different size than the outer rim, which requires a special tire that only Michelin sells. I called BS. It turns out that for a couple years, on the touring trim level, that it was absolutely true. It was called the Michelin Pack system and fresh tires for your kid hauler could be $2,000. Screw that. Buy aftermarket wheels or just sell the dang thing. That someone can marry someone underage if the child gives consent and the person is the child's guardian. Fuck you, unfortunate events. I would rather not know that. The fact that actor Paul Rudd is 50 years old but looks 25. He's 50. I thought he was in his 30s. No way. No fucking way. That the world is running out of beach sand. Erosion is stripping all the sand from the shores into the ocean, and desert sand is too fine to replace it. It's so bad that many countries have a sand black market. Edit. Black market is of river and beach sand to build artificial land and replenish beach sand. Victim blaming after sexual assault is real. Edit. I just wanna add that victim blaming comes from the most unexpected places, like the friends and family you trusted. If you're a victim of sexual assault, be careful who you tell. But tell someone. My father made a huge show of always putting the shiny side in on tinfoil, since as far back as I can remember. Didn't always say it, but would sometimes let me know that the shiny side bounces off the heat. I was 15 when I BBQ'd alone and was more worried about lighting the BBQ that I forgot to make sure the shiny side was in. Then a moment of enlightenment happened. That arsehole had made the world's longest joke. It dawned on me it doesn't matter. Well played, old man. Lots of people believe that there is a difference, but there isn't. It's down to the manufacturing process. In order to roll aluminium down to the thickness, or thinness, required for cooking foil, approximately 0.01 mm, 2 coils of aluminium strip have to be passed through the rolling mill at the same time, a process called doubling. The result is that the external side then has a shiny finish and the internal side is matte. The idea that the difference in finish enhances cooking is simply a marketing ploy by the foil producers, who could not make it shiny, or dull, on both sides even if they wanted to. I truly didn't believe that bed bugs were real, just thought it was a little bedtime rhyme for kids, until my parents' house became infested. Bed bugs are true hell. Joji the musician, is Filthy Frank the YouTuber aka the pink suit guy known for pretending to have seizures in public until he had a real seizure himself. He quit YouTube for health reasons and focused on music to become Joji. Wild. That is pretty normal for Americans to cut off part of a baby's penis. I figured this was something that was a running gag on American movies, but it's actually a thing. I thought dick cheese was Reddit bullshit. I thought that you need to go to college to achieve something in life. Time flies like the blink of an eye. 20 years ago I just graduated high school, 10 years ago college. Married with 2 kiddos and 1 on the way. Can't believe it's been so long, but it feels like it has happened so fast. Love your best life, people. We only get so much time. That my friend could not be trusted. It should not have taken 11 years to accept that. If everyone around you doesn't like somebody that you're close to and has good reason for their distrust, take their word for it and really rethink if the way they treat you is truly better than just being alone. Not me, but a friend. Pirates until I told her pirate stories from the island I'm from. She thought I was joking and that pirates were made up Disney characters. Most adults don't understand basic science. I used to think everyone was at the same level with knowing how the world worked. That the laws of physics and thermodynamics etc. was just the stuff everyone learned in high school science. You know, that people like flat earthers and moon conspiratorists were just being facetious but really knew enough of the basic sciences to know they were spouting bullshit. I thought everyone knew things like how microwaves work, and only the very stupid did things like rig it to work with the door open and put their head in. Till I saw a guy light a cigarette while pumping gas and say it's no big deal. I do it all the time. The thing is, in the short time I worked at the petrol station, he wasn't the only one. It's actually an ongoing thing for workers to force people to stop doing stupid shit like that. People are dumb. Edit. Cheers for the gold. Thank fuck I'm not the only one who thought this. A lot of my friends thought it was a joke when we told them that dogs get stuck together after doing it. Not trying to be incendiary with this, but racism. I grew up and lived in Michigan until I was 24. Then moved to Charleston, SC. All I can say is holy shit, you guys. Edit. To expound a bit, I knew racism had been true in the past, and that there were still groups out there like the Klan and the Black Panthers. But growing up in the suburban Midwest, I went to school with black kids, Vietnamese kids, Mexican and Central American kids, and some Bosnian kids. Judging them based solely on their skin color or nationality seemed like something only a fool would do. Racism overall seemed like a myth. Then I got to Charleston. I'm a white, middle-class woman who works in a warehouse and has done manual labor my whole life up to that point. I didn't understand why my black co-workers avoided me like the plague. As did my white co-workers. They were all men. It's a whole different, segregated world here. I had no clue about it before I got here. I've now lived here for over a decade and have witnessed and experienced racism and prejudice in a way that people from back home literally cannot believe. Thank you for sharing this. As a Texan, it's really refreshing to hear that there are regions where racism actually seems preposterous. When I was a child, racial slurs were so common that I didn't even know they were bad until I was 8 or 9. It's nice to know there are places that seems to have fully outgrown the hatred. Almost all of the friends we make in school. Almost all of the lovers we have in our friend group. If they exist before the age of 20, they will probably never see each other again. Or will never be friends again. Sad thought though. Not really thought it was a lie, but I always assumed it to be very over-exaggerated just how devastatingly exhausting it is to have a child. Boy was I wrong. I love you. When I was deep into my eating disorder, I thought my parents always said they loved me because I had to, and that they were liars. I thought that by starving myself I would make them happy and that they would actually love me if I was skinnier. The truth was that they loved me from the second they knew I existed. They always loved me, but I just couldn't believe them at that time.